Good morning, good morning. Happy Tuesday. God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. Baby, you know what? I love my family. I got some pretty cool friends, too. But let me tell you something. My cousin called me, and for the first time, she was having a meltdown, and she was wigging out, and things just were not going like she had expected. Hang on, I'm trying to get my. Oh, snap. Okay. Things were just not going the way she wanted. She was having a rough day. She was flipping out. And I, of course, I know when she called me with a meltdown, and that means she has been holding on to stuff. Baby, she gave me about a 15-minute rant. Hmm. I thought she had started crying. And then I talked to her and I said, well, I'm up here, you down there. And I don't even know this person you're talking about, but it seems to me, and I proceeded to give her the tea, and she could totally understand. Yesterday, I got a phone call from a lady, and she started out making sense. It seemed like it was simple what she wanted. She just wanted details of the service that had been provided. It was really easy, and I was able to shoot it over to her while we were talking. Because, mind you, I just sent it to her the day before, so I guess she's not really computer literate. I shot it over to her while we were still on the phone, told her to open it if she had any questions asked. I hadn't even opened it myself, child, but that's just me. She started asking questions I couldn't answer. I got the other team on the line, and I was still on the phone, but I was on mute. She started talking so crazy to my coworker that I had to turn the phone off of mute and go in and say, "Wait a minute, we just had a conversation and we talked about that. So now, what is the issue? Oh, you're still here. Okay, good, because I want to talk to you anyway." And I said, "Ma'am, the only thing I'm really here to talk about is payment." You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, we're not even finna start over after what you just did. After I shared that story with another coworker, she said something to me that was interesting to hear. I think coming from somebody else because I know I overthink a lot. I know I can be a little too damn outspoken at times, but she said you have to understand. You have to figure it out and determine and understand when you talking to a motherfucker that's slow. Mm, 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 mm. I listened, and the way I was looking, she could tell the wheels were spinning. She could tell I was processing. And then it was like the light bulb went off. And I remembered something that happened not long ago. And it came to me. You I know you've heard the saying, somebody got book sense but don't have street sense. Got street sense and don't have book smarts. I know you've heard that before. And it was amazing for me to replay in my mind things that I've witnessed, I've seen, I've heard, to see a motherfucker strategize on some shit so tough that you could put it into professional terms. And you know, it's unfortunate sometimes when we as women don't see our worth. We talk like we know our worth. We talk a good game, but you could only tell by how a person speaks, how they listen, if they understand, right? So when the little old lady called me back, I put my phone on mute so that I could mumble, because I know she was fixing to say something stupid. And when she said something stupid, I took my phone off mute, but I didn't say anything. And then she sat there and she said, "Hello? Hello?" I guess she thought I had hung up. And I said, "Can you hear me? Lisa, can you hear me?" And she said, "Yes, were you able to hear me?" And I said, "Your phone was kind of breaking up. I was trying to tell you, but I thought maybe you couldn't hear me." And then she said, "Well, what was the last thing you heard?" And I said, "You were talking about the order, I thought, but I wasn't really sure." And she said, "I really hate to repeat myself." I said, "And I do too. I totally agree with you on that. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when I spoke to you earlier, we, I asked you for payment. You had questions, your questions were answered. I told you that is not what I do. I am the money girl." And you proceeded to repeat the question. And then you call me and you're still talking about what you guys were talking about earlier. And I don't understand why you call me other than to give me a credit card. I totally understand what you say. I hate repeating myself too. And she held the phone for a minute. Now I wanted to say hello, but I didn't. I just sat there. I put my phone on mute and I sat there. When she came back on, she apologized to me. And then she said, "My husband tells me I do that when I don't want to accept responsibility, when I don't want to hold myself accountable." And I said, "I don't understand." And then she said, "I don't think I should pay you guys at all." And I said, "Well, okay, then don't. And we'll go ahead and, report it to your credit and see if they want to, take it further. It's not a problem. You could have said that. I don't have a problem with that. But thank you for your call. I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you later." And I hung up the phone because I had already said too much in my voice. I didn't want to, get myself hemmed up. So I said, it's easy to terminate the call. She just said what she had to say. Ain't nothing else for me to say. And so I hung up. A few minutes later, the credit card payment came through short $20. And I thought to myself, does does she know how much simpler her life could be if she just stops and think about what she's doing and what she's saying? Because it's all a strategy. And that was what the real awakening was for me. Even in personal private conversations, it's generally a strategy. And I'm always on the phone, so I'm like, well, I see it as a personal conversation. And the more and more I thought about it, I said, until it hits a certain point. And then I had to analyze myself, because I don't like repeating myself, child. I do not. And it's frustrating for motherfucker keep repeating themselves to me. When I already said what I said, or they already said what they said. And it was kind of like she took joy in just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, when all she had to do was pay whatever she felt was fair and be done with it. I take a lot of what I learned at work good and the bad, and I try to apply it to myself. But sometimes it gets so difficult, and I think it's when you have a lot of weight on you, because I got a lot of shit, and I'm blessed to have my right frame of mind, or so I think. But it is what it is, and it's life. And unfortunate for her husband, he tells her that, and she makes no changes, and she keeps going on. And I don't know why she felt she needed to share it with me. I don't know if she was having an awakening of sorts. Was she coming to the realization that did she recognize what she was doing? Like, it's funny because the zip code that they live in is a very nice area. Very, very nice. I say all of that to say this. Having money don't give you class, and having class don't always give you money. But I will say this: um, when you want change, you'll get change. You know, uh, and it really takes me back to boundaries. You know what I'm saying? So I have to catch myself, because a lot of stuff we want to believe in, it's just not what we think. It's not what we hope for. It's just not. But it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Anyway, it's about that time for me to roll out. I just came on here to holler real quick, just to vent. Just to vent. All right, I'll talk to y'all later.